you guys, let's get into this municipal mess. We are today reporting on what's going on in the city of Philadelphia because Philadelphia politicians yet have found another way to treat basically the public like it is their personal piggy bank with legs, okay? So today we're going to talk about the new tax initiative that the mayor wants to impose on rideshare users. It's basically a $1 tax. The sales pitch from Democrat politicians is the same old sanctified shakedown. It's usually about the children or some other emotional way that they can manipulate you to convince you that they need more of your money. Whenever these people want to reach deeper into your pockets, they will wrap the robbery in a ribbon and then call it compassion. You know, it's for the kids. And so who gonna say no to the kids? But in this clip that I'm about to show you, I want you guys are gonna hear where the council members, residents and business voices alike, they're all saying the same thing in different ways. Basically, the city keeps piling costs onto the same struggling people, then acting shocked when people are frustrated. Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip.
It's a Beatles song, yeah, the tax man.
City council members spending the morning grilling the mayor's budget plan to impose a $1 tax on ride shares originating in the city of Philadelphia. The money going to help save teacher positions. But many on city council skeptical if another tax is the right way to do it.
The city council was not consulted in any way before these decisions were made. It was not discussed. You did not talk to the community.
Throwing bad money after bad money and keep on piling on, as my colleague said, another poor tax, just like the soda tax. So
the issue got so heated, both the school superintendent and school board president were summoned to city council chambers a day before their scheduled testimony.
We know this is about children, but we also represent people that are struggling in their communities who cannot afford to pay another tax.
School officials say without the recurring $50 million a year, 340 school positions will be eliminated, although no layoffs would be expected because of retirement and attrition. Philadelphia school principals gathered outside of council chambers to voice their support for the new tax.
We cannot take a step backwards. Our schools are safer. Our attendance is up. Our graduation rate is up. We need to keep these funds.
Meanwhile, as rideshare giant Uber launched a campaign on the proposed tax with their customers, council got another afternoon earful during public comment. Some in support, most against the tax.
If y'all going to do this and y'all going to have all these taxes, make it affordable for the people who are working. Y'all making these big corporations get over on it? No, stop that.
Reps from rideshare say the tax would affect poor communities the most. DoorDash says 70% of its users are in low-income neighborhoods.
Increased prices will make everyday essentials less affordable for the city's most vulnerable residents. And thousands of small businesses on our platforms will also suffer with fewer and smaller orders and ultimately less business.
Already facing a massive budget deficit and on the verge of closing more than a dozen city schools, the school board says they have to find the money somewhere.
I don't care if we go under our mattresses to find the money. The Board of Education has a real issue. A structural deficit is $300 million, $8 billion in deferred and replacement costs. I don't care how we get the money.
Now, rideshare taxes are not at all uncommon. About 50 U.S. cities have implemented similar taxes. Sheba, the debate will continue tomorrow in city council chambers, and of course, we'll be here for it all.
All right, Chris, thank you.
All right, there it is. You heard it. That is the Democrat development model in a nutshell. Mismanage the money, ignore the long-term consequences, and then come back to the same overburdened public and say, you need to pay more. You would think that they would get a clue and be like, well, maybe we need to produce more or build more or attract more. But no, they want you to pay more. Now, I'm hoping you have caught the pattern here. Everybody that you just watched in that chamber, they already know that people are already struggling. Like that is their lived experience of the constituents in Philadelphia. But you have to remember these people do not think like builders. They think like bureaucrats. Now, if you can recall in a recent video, I explained in what I thought was with mere precision why I believe that this was precisely the problem in the Black community. I talked about how because Democrat politicians and Democrat voters, they've been trained in a worldview that's rooted in socialism and not capitalism. And so, since this is our mindset, we're always at the bottom. We're always in a position of lack. We're always begging, whining, crying. And it's because we're a community of dependence, right? So we're not builders or producers. We're used to looking to the government to find out what are they going to do for us. That is essentially how a socialistic framework thinks. They never think to ask, how can we make a city flourish? Instead, they ask, how do we finance the failure for another fiscal year? So now, I want you guys to hear from the mayor herself. Y'all, this next clip, this is what happens when political power gets just a little too comfortable. This chick was a piece of work. Thank you. Shout out to you, James, for sending me this clip. But the clip we're about to watch is of Mayor Cherelle Parker. And this is her defending her proposed $1 rideshare tax, which her administration pretty much has admitted that it's going to raise about $48 million a year for the school district. Fine. If that's your argument, make your case. But from what you are about to hear, this doesn't sound like a humble public servant. It sounds more like a politician that's offended that the peasants dared to object to another government hand in their wallets. Take a look at this clip.
Tell me, as mayor of this city, to tell the people in this city that we cannot and should not enact what is one of the most limited powers that we have, and that is to decide how we will drive revenue to the school district of Philadelphia. Let me tell you something. I'm unapologetic as mayor of the city of Philadelphia about advocating for this new potential revenue generating source for our school district of Philadelphia that would generate $50.4 million when you add both of them together. If these taxes are enacted and approved by our council, this will be the largest new recurring local revenue source for the school district of Philadelphia since we enacted the sales tax and the cigarette tax. And that was $120 million in annual revenue from the sales tax and $83 million respectively.
See, I told y'all, Democrat politicians are masters looking for slaves. And if you vote for them, you are a slave. Absolutely looking for a master. You heard it with your own ears. I mean, nothing says public servant more like a government shakedown with an attitude. Ain't she stank with it? I mean, that was the sound of a tax tyrant with a title. Y'all, the Democrats, because of the power that they've been allowed to amass in perpetuity, y'all, they have forgotten that they work for you, the people. They have this whole attitude of, how dare you challenge me? How dare you question this tax? Don't you know that this is one of the few powers that I have and I will wield and exercise it as I choose? How dare you push back on my plan? I'm like, I listened to that multiple times. And I said to myself, how are y'all allowing this? Do not tell me that slavery is not a choice. The arrogance and the audacity in this woman's voice has her thinking that she's the queen of Kensington, and that's queen with a K. I mean, she believes. This woman is so drunk with power that she believes that she's the Duchess of Dysfunction. Ma'am, you are the mayor of a city. And the people who are footing the bill, they have every right to ask you why your first instinct is to always extract instead of expand. But I get it. I told y'all. That is the thing with Democrats. They all govern like every problem in the world can be solved by simply reaching into somebody else's pocket with greater moral indignation. If they break something or mismanage something or underperform something, they'll just stand there with their hand out like some sanctified stick-up artist and be like, you better respect my authority. And it's up to the people to say, no, you respect the taxpayer. You respect the single mom that's trying to get to work. Where's your respect for the senior citizens that have to use the rideshare because they can no longer drive? Where's your respect for the worker? They got to come home late and Uber's their only option. What about respecting the families that are already being nickeled and dimed, taxed, tolled, fined, and squeezed at every level? Every level of government, y'all are in their pockets. This is what makes people sick of Democrat leadership. But I'm not convinced y'all are sick and tired of enough. No, y'all ain't sick and tired enough. Because now these people are telling you what they're going to do, and now you're an active participant in your own oppression. I don't want to hear a thing about the white man. I don't want to hear nothing about a Republican, nothing. These are Democrats doing what Democrats have always done. That is oppress others for their own selfish gain. And you got to sit back and you just deal with it as if you can't vote these people up out of office. I don't understand it. Like the sales pitch from these people, it is always the same. We need more money. And, because we need it for the schools and for services. And, it's for the children. The ones that can't read or write, but they always keep throwing money at it. Those children, they always claim it's for the kids. Then they got to throw in, for equity and justice and for protections and compassion. This is their response to everything. But somehow they can never fix their mouth to say, how do we cut waste? Right? Like, what can we do to grow the economy? What measures can we take to reduce all of this corruption and save on all of the waste, fraud, and abuse that we see? Or what about the law and order? How do we restore law and order? Because if we restore law and order, we can then ask ourselves, what else could we be doing to attract investments so that this place becomes irresistible to everybody? They never ask any of those questions. They never ask, how do we stop governing like a broken empire in decline? No. The only things they ask is, you gotta pay more. And they don't even ask. They just tell you, you gotta pay more. And then when the public pushes back and like, well, hold on, we're already drowning, the Democrats act morally offended. And this is what I heard. When I listened to that mayor in that clip, I didn't hear any sort of leadership. She didn't come from a position of persuasion or trying to be held accountable. All you hear is arrogance wrapped up in public policy. All I heard was a politician saying, I have power and I made a decision and your resistance to my decision is disrespectful. And you better bow down and recognize you electoral serf you. Oh, they are ain't they disrespectful? Like, don't you know? When you vote for Democrats, you are never to criticize these people. And when you do, to them, it is a sign of disrespect. This is why I always call it a master-slave relationship when it comes to Democrat politics, because it's reminiscent of that. You do what I say. You don't question me. And don't you know, this right here is the bill coming due for all of our bad governance. And you can't say nothing about it. And to be clear, y'all, this rideshare tax, I was talking to a friend, and it's really a part of this broader budget fight over how they're going to plug. There's a major school funding gap. And a local administration they're kind of arguing that the money is necessary to avoid cuts. But everyone is arguing, from Uber to the members of city council, they're all arguing that this fee falls hardest on the working class residents. Now, these are the people that they claim that they're always fighting for, but they don't mind putting more oppressive taxes on you Because remember, it's for the children. But this is why people are mad. It's not that people hate children, but people are tired of the government acting like your paycheck is an all-you-can-eat buffet. And that points to the deeper issue. A healthy city would ask, how can we make Philadelphia so safe and so clean and functional and prosperous that more people will want to live here and work here and build here and invest and stay? But Democrats are part of a failing political class, and all they ask is, how much more can we squeeze out of the people who haven't escaped left? Like the ones that are left, they are going to get you for all that they can get. That is the Democrat model. They don't have a clue on how to cultivate prosperity. All they do is confiscate productivity. They don't build a bigger pie. They just bring a bigger fork and keep eating and eating and eating. And then they want you to clap for them. When they rob you, they want you to clap and celebrate like they did something. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I know it's easy. First of all, I'm not in Philadelphia. I'm in Atlanta, and they got their own problems. And it's easy to criticize what all these Marxist miscreants do. I mean, the content, for the most part, it makes itself. But I don't want to just be a talking head. I would rather, like, for example, let's talk about some solutions, right? So Philly is trying to implement another tax on top of all the other taxes that they already have. And so I put myself and said, okay, well, if I were the mayor of Philadelphia, what would I do? Like, how would I take my conservative worldview, keeping that in mind, and what would I do to improve and generate revenue and make life better for the people I serve? First things first is I would focus less on squeezing and taxing and regulating the residents, and I would put more emphasis on how do we make Philadelphia competitive again, right? I would think about that. But actually, before we do that, the first thing you need to do in a city like Philadelphia, because it is a blue city, you need to restore public order. Public safety will always be the first commandment of urban recovery because perception matters. And no business wants to come and invest in a community that is not safe. Families and businesses don't flock to municipalities where they feel like they're being hunted. And so you got to restore law and order first. And then after you do that, you have to reduce the tax burden on work and enterprise. Commerce has to be able to flow freely. And when Philadelphia, when they're even having their own internal reform debate, they've included recommendations to phase down or to eliminate the city's business tax burden. And they also know that they have to lower the wage tax because these are the taxes that are making the city less competitive. So if the city is less competitive, people don't want to come and invest. And this is why businesses are leaving. But after that, you got to cut the regulatory tape. If it's too hard to do business with you, you're not going to attract any industry. You have to make it easier to get permits, make it more predictable, absolutely make it cheaper. A city should not feel like an obstacle course for employers. It should be easy to do business with you, not harder. Once we deal with the business climate, you then have to at least protect and incentivize the small businesses that you have. Everybody knows that the backbone of America is strengthened when you have strong small business communities. And so I did some research and I found that Philadelphia at one point had something called the BERT exemption. And it's essentially where if you were a small business with less than 100,000 in gross receipts, you used to be exempt from filing and paying the city's BERT tax. It stands for Business Income and Receipts Tax. Y'all, that was a legitimate incentive. But because Democrats are oppressive, the city got rid of that exemption in 2025 because they don't know about growing. They just know about taking more money from you. So now you have freelancers and people in the gig economy and side hustlers that hit them the hardest. They're now pulled back into the tax system. And so, in other words, instead of making it easier for small businesses to grow, Philadelphia just decided we're going to drag more of them into the bureaucratic purgatory. And so when they ended that BERT exemption, it hit the small business community very, very hard. And now people are like, look, if this city was truly interested in growth, a pro-growth city would be looking for ways to offset that burden, not piling on fresh fees. But that ain't how they think. Another idea that I had was I'd be like, okay, we focused on safety. We're making and improving the business climate. Now we need to look at how do we build around family retention, right? Like there is a reason that families are leaving. So if we know people are not just leaving for no reason, ask, why are you leaving? Now, the people are probably going to tell you, got to be prepared for the answer. They're going to be like, well, the school's trash, right? This city is not safe. Cleanliness is a problem. You got housing stability. That's a problem. So you got to find out from the people what the problem is. And then once you do that, prioritize core incentives. Okay, nobody cares about all this symbolic spending and the DEI and the equity. Don't get rid of all that. The role of government is very simple. Keep these roads paved and to make sure that the trains run on time. In other words, I mean, that is a very reductionist way to put it. But the point is potholes, policing, sanitation, code enforcement, and the business corridor stability. That's going to beat boutique government spending every single time. And then the last thing, you must remember, you got to treat taxpayers like customers, not your financial captives. You can't do that. The goal should be to broaden the tax base by growing prosperity, not by balancing all of the city's ambitions on the backs of the taxpayer. You still have people at this point who are still foolish enough to stay. Eventually, you will lose those people as well if you don't figure out a way to be innovative and to attract growth and not by way of tax revenue. So I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? What do you think this Uber tax and all of the other taxes and the posture and the attitude of the mayor up in Philadelphia, do you think this is just another thing that the residents need to deal with because more taxes and a heavy tax burden is going to make the city run better and fill in the budget shortfall that they have? Or are you of the opinion that April, Democrats, a Democrat heaven is an American hell, and nothing these people have ever done has ever improved the lives of the people they claim they've been called to serve? So I have no hope for this being improved, and this is just another oppressive way that Democrats govern. And if the people don't vote these people out, they get exactly what they voted for. But whatever it is your opinion is, I want you to leave me your comments down in the box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.